The average US lawn is 10,000 square feet, takes 2 to 5 hours of time a week to maintain, and costs $900 to $4,000 a year to keep up. By the end of this video, I'm gonna break down how I turn this 8,000 square foot piece of land into $32,000 of groceries a year, and how you can turn a tiny fraction of your lawn into 2 to 3K in groceries a year. I'm Zach Buckle. I own and operate this 1/3 of an acre vegetable farm in Cody, Wyoming. And last year we sold $85,000 of food on this land, and this year we're projected to sell more. Let's face it, your grass lawn is costing you money. It's nice to look at and play on, but at the end of the year, what's it really doing for you? You've got your initial equipment costs of a lawnmower, leaf blower, weed whacker. You've got your annual supply costs of grass seed, weed killer, fertilizer, and you've got your weekly watering cost, which varies greatly depending on how big your lawn is, where you live, and how often you water. And you have your weekly time commitment to maintain that lawn, which is anywhere from 2 to 5 hours a week, depending on how big your lawn is. And that's only if you do it yourself. If you pay somebody else to do it, those costs probably close to double. No matter how you slice it, that grass lawn is costing you money. 7 years ago, this field behind me used to be grass lawn too. And now we've turned it into 40, 50 foot by 2.5 foot garden beds of vegetables that are irrigated with sprinklers just like you use to irrigate your lawn. Each bed grows a variety of food crops every year, like this cabbage planted at 10-inch grid spacing, or these onions or shallots planted at 3 rows of bed at 4 inches apart in row, or these carrots planted with a push seeder at 4 rows per bed, or head lettuce like this planted at 10-inch grid spacing, or summer squash like this planted 10 inches apart in 1 row, parsley planted at 10-inch grid spacing, or broccoli planted at 15-inch grid spacing, or kale planted at 15-inch grid spacing, or celery planted at 10-inch grid spacing, or green beans or snap peas grown 6 feet tall up a trellis. Each crop we grow per bed averages about $400 in grocery value. So for example, this 50-foot bed of green onions will yield us about 200 bunches that will sell for $3 each. That is $600. Or this 50-foot bed of lettuce for salad mix that'll yield us about 80 pounds of salad mix that we could sell between $8 and $10 a pound, bringing us between $600 and $800 in grocery food value. Each bed of carrots that we plant yields us about 150 bunches of carrots that we could sell for at least $3 each, bringing the farm a minimum of $450 in value. Each bed of cabbage that we plant at the spacing I mentioned earlier brings us 180 heads of cabbage per bed that we sell at minimum of $3 each, bringing us about $540 in revenue for that one crop. Each one of these 50-foot beds in this field produce at least 2 crops per year. So this bed was full of beets a week ago, and then we replanted it to more salad mix lettuce. This bed was planted with arugula 2 weeks ago that we terminated and replanted to fall green onions. So both of these beds are on their 2nd crop of the year, and we're in late July. Now you'll notice that I said we have an average of $400 per crop, because a lot of crops will produce more than $400 worth of food, but also things go wrong on a farm. So we have crop failures, like this cilantro. We only got 1 cut from it because the variety we grow this year is going to seed much faster than the one we grew last year. And this bed of onions is covered in bindweed, which is definitely going to impact the yield that we get from this bed. So it's an average of 400 because this is farming and some things just don't go according to plan. So let's take everything I just said and put it all together. This entire field is 40 50-foot beds, just like I gave you a million examples of just now. Each one of those beds produces 2 crops a year, each averaging $400 in grocery value or sales for us. So if you do the math, that's 2 times 400 is $800 in groceries produced a year in this field, times 40 equals $32,000 in groceries produced in this field every year. And we're selling that all through our farm, and all of that food is irrigated with a Wobbler Sprinkler just like this that you can easily use to irrigate your lawn. The only difference between this and your typical impact sprinkler is that this produces a really even rain-like watering in a circle, and you don't have to move it at all. It just waters in a circle, and I'll put a link to this exact sprinkler in the description. It costs just about as much as any sprinkler you're going to use to irrigate your lawn, and all of that food that I just described was produced in this way. Now you're probably thinking, this guy is a full-time vegetable farmer and he's turned that entire field into an intensive vegetable farm. I don't want to turn my lawn into an intensive vegetable farm like that. Well, you don't have to get the benefits of what I'm talking about. You just need to turn a fraction of your lawn into a garden like this and plant it in exactly the same way I just described we plant the farm. If you want to start turning your lawn into food production, check out my free backyard farm launch pad at the link in the description below, where I'll walk you through how to set up a no-dig garden just like this, step by step, how to acquire the materials, and how to turn your lawn into garden just like this. Now you see how your lawn can at the very least save you money on groceries. And you can use this no-dig method directly on top of grass lawn. The cardboard, 6 inches of compost and 6 inches of wood chips will smother the light from reaching the grass, and it will not grow through, or if it does grow through, it will be much easier to kill by just pulling it again and again, because the grass will tire out by growing through 6 inches of material again and again. So it's a really good way to turn your lawn into food production. I made a full cost profit analysis video of how you could set up this exact garden that you can watch here, where I break down how much it costs to set up this garden and how you could produce $2,000 to $3,000 of grocery savings or profit from your garden every year and manage it in less than 1 hour a week. This tiny 25-foot by 2.5-foot no-dig garden bed is about to produce $300 of food. And all I have done to make this happen this year is I have spent 15 minutes adding 1 inch of compost. I've spent 15 minutes planting the transplants in June. I've spent 5 minutes cultivating it with a hoe. And we have irrigated it with a Wobbler Sprinkler, just like I showed you, 1 to 2 times a week since June. And that's it. And now we have all of this food to harvest. So what you're looking at is about 5 bunches of beets, 9 heads of celery, 9 heads of cabbage, 3 heads of lettuce, 3 heads of lettuce that we'll cut into salad mix. We've got basically 6 bunches of kale that we'll produce, 6 bunches of Swiss chard, about 12 pounds of broccoli, about 6 to 9 bunches of parsley, and probably about 20 pounds of summer squash those 2 plants will produce in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So this is all planted in exactly the same spacing I just described the farm. And we are still going to keep planting after we harvest the cabbage, lettuce, beets, and possibly the parsley. We'll be planting a second crop in a lot of this space. So it's going to produce more than $300 worth of food. So this garden currently has 4 25 by 2.5 foot beds, just like I described, that we irrigate with that one sprinkler, but we could easily fit 8 within this space by just putting another bed here, another bed here, another bed there, and produce a bare minimum of $2,400 worth of food per year in our short Wyoming 120-day growing season. If you live in a longer growing season, you can easily produce more than that by continuing to plant. Every time you harvest, you replant for another crop. When you set up your garden in the no-dig style that I just described, it is by far the most low-maintenance way to grow food. If you have a busy lifestyle and you don't have a lot of time to focus on this, no-dig is the best because you're going to avoid much more of the weed pressure that I have to deal with here on the farm. All you have to focus on is continuing to plant that ground as much as humanly possible. So every chance you get throughout your entire growing season, plant food in that garden bed, and you'll be amazed at how much groceries you're actually able to produce. It's the same strategy that we use on this farm to produce over $85,000 of food a year on just 1/3 of an acre of growing space. So if your family eats cabbage, snap peas, carrots, lettuce, celery, beets, tomatoes, summer squash, cucumbers, or most popular veggies, and you're still watering, weed whacking, fertilizing, and mowing a grass lawn, why don't you try setting up your own personal backyard farm? It'll be fun. If you're interested in working directly with me to create a backyard farm like this that produces enough food to feed you and your neighbors, I'd love to connect on a call to learn more about your goals and challenges with your backyard. If that's you, click the link in the description below and book a time for us to chat.